It's going down. Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rechakwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And welcome to another series of It's Going Down, being brought to you by the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Russia accuses U.S. of using Ukraine. Now, once again, this has been an ongoing escalation which has been going on in Ukraine. An ongoing escalation. And, you know, if you're paying attention to what's going on here, you can see how the United States, for a long time now, has been trying to get full control of Ukraine so they can have full influence over Ukraine. Because if the United States was to gain full influence over Ukraine, then they would be able to use Ukraine against Russia. And that's what the United States want. They want to have full influence over Ukraine. But the reason why Russia is sending troops over to Ukraine is because really they want to snuff out those U.S.-backed military troops over there in Ukraine that are basically being a ward to Ukraine. You see right now, Ukraine is under an incursion. And it all started with when the United States decided to go over there. Ukraine once belonged to Russia, but now the United States have some kind of influence over Ukraine. So what do you think Russia is trying to do? Russia is trying to get rid of all these Western nations over there that are influencing Ukraine to turn against Russia. And Russia's not having that. So what is Russia doing? They got troops over there in Ukraine. Even though Russia is using Moscow to send those troops over there. It says Lavrov's remarks come shortly after Kiev said there are insufficient Russian troops near the border to strike Ukraine. So you see how the United States tries to paint the narrative here that they are being victimized, when really Russia is over there and when really the United States is over there in somebody else's territory. The United States is over there in Ukraine trying to influence Ukraine politically. Russia does not want the United States to influence Ukraine politically. With tensions rapidly escalating in Ukraine, Moscow's top diplomat has accused Washington of politicizing the growing standoff over Ukraine's borders to an extent that has taken Kiev by surprise. Okay? It says, speaking to news outlets as part of the broadcast interview on Friday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov weighed in on the Western nations' discussion to evacuate staff from embassies and consulates in former Soviet Republic due to the purported threat of a Russian invasion. So they're trying to paint Russia out here to be the bad guy, when Russia's not really the bad guy. Ukraine belongs to Russia. They're talking about a Russian invasion. But wait a minute. Who invaded Ukraine first? The United States did. This whole incursion over Ukraine started with when the United States went over there, stirring up chaos, causing riots. And then after a while, Ukraine gave in to the United States, and now look, now they're under the influence. Now they're under some kind of influence of the United States. Now the Americans have begun to use Ukraine so blatantly and cynically against Russia. Now, let's look up this word cynically here, or cynical, because cynically is a extended word of the word cynical. Whenever this loads up. Cynical definition. I'm just going to hit the enter button here. So here's the definition for cynical.
Cynical.
It says believing that people are motivated. Okay. It says believing that people are motivated by self-interest, distrustful of human sincerity and integrity. Okay. So I'm going to read it again. Believing that people are motivated by self-interest. Right? Now, check out the second definition. Distrustful of human sincerity and integrity. So, the United States is using Ukraine in a way that is distrustful of human sincerity or integrity. Now, real quick, I just want to do this. I won't, because the previous definition I had for it. Cynical. Alright, so obviously, they probably do not, because the other definition they had was, because I've looked this word up before. Here, why don't I type in what is cynical? This is not the original definition I found. In the original definition that I found for cynical, it said in a way that is distrustful, that motivates people by self-interest. That's the original definition I found for cynical. Now, for some weird for some weird reason, I cannot find the original definition for it. But at least they have distrustful of human sincerity and integrity. So does Russia trust the United States having influence over Ukraine? Hell no. And that is why Russia has troops over there in Ukraine, because Russia intends on liberating Ukraine from United States influence. Even though the United States have some influence in Ukraine, Russia does not want Ukraine to be under any Western influence. And that's what we're seeing playing out here. But as soon as Russia goes to take action, right, the United States starts their propaganda by painting the narrative that Russia's the bad guy here. They're invading Ukraine. No, they're not. Ukraine belongs to Russia. How the hell is Russia invading a country that rightfully belongs to them? If there's any invaders in Ukraine, it's really the United States. Okay, did not the Western foreigners put their embassies in Ukraine? So it says, now Americans have begun to use Ukraine so blatantly and so distrustfully against Russia that the Kiev regime itself is already scared. He claimed. They are already saying, don't escalate this discussion. Let's tone down the rhetoric. Why are you evacuating diplomats? Why do you think the United States is evacuating diplomats? Because they see that Russia's not playing around. Lavrov pointed out that it is not only Americans fleeing from Kiev, but other Anglo-Saxons, the Canadian and the Brits. Now Canada is a part of the United States, right? Not that they have actual Canadians over there. They have people from the nation of Edom that have control or some kind of control over Canada, or that have control over Canada's government. That's well, going over to Ukraine, and the Brits. So Canada and Britain, they're both a part of the beast system. Okay? If Canada is a part of the United States, they're a part of the beast system. They're a part of the seven-headed beast, which is NATO. Britain is also a part of NATO, the beast system, okay? According to Lavrov, they know something the rest of us don't know. We are now being told by both EU diplomatic chief Joseph Borrell and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken as an incantation. We really hope that Russia will choose the path of diplomacy, hysterically hyping the escalation in Ukraine and demanding de-escalation, he said. So as you can see here, the United States is clearly trying to hype or trying to escalate Ukraine against Russia. Okay, Russia, you see, and Russia, they're thinking back to when the USSR was first formed. And they're looking at the United States like, what are you guys doing? Because first off, the USSR was not set up by the Russian regime. The United States are the ones responsible for setting up the USSR in Russia. Russia did not ask for the USSR. The United States set that shit up. And that is why Russia is fighting to revert back to the Soviet Union. Because Russia really don't want to have any ties with the United States. The USSR was set up so the United States could basically try to police Russia. But you see, over the years, Russia's military has gotten stronger. And Russia, they looked at Iraq and they saw what the United States did to it. Russia looked at Afghanistan and they saw what the United States did to that country. Russia looked at some of these western parts of Africa. They saw what the United States did to those countries. Russia looked at Syria. They saw what the United States tried to do to that country. Russia looked at Kazakhstan and they saw what the United States tried to do to that country. And Russia's looking at Ukraine and they're like, hell no. So you think Russia wants United States influence in Ukraine? Hell no. Because Russia done looked at some of these other countries and saw what the United States did there, and Russia's like, hell no. Hell no, we won't go. Okay? And that's why Russia is fighting to get get those Westerners out of Ukraine, to liberate Ukraine from United States influence, to liberate Ukraine from this political influence that United States is trying to have or gain control over Ukraine. Now, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. Now, check this out. Because everything that's happening here is prophecy, it's prophetic, it's written in the Holy Scriptures. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. We're hearing of wars, right? We're hearing of Russia having troops on the borders of Ukraine. U.S. embassies feel threatened. Americans withdrawing themselves from Ukraine. See that ye be not troubled. Don't be troubled when you hear about these things. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not by and by. The end is not by and by, you see. Okay, the end is not by and by. Now, let me get that in Luke chapter 21, verse 9. Yes. Luke chapter 21, verse 9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, what we're seeing right here is a commotion. Be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. You see? So with that, I'm going to say, Shalom is on to the next one.